Good morning. Today is the 7th of February 2024 and I'm going to recap my trading plan for today. Before we start, as always, we'll take a look at the economic news, and there's nothing major of high importance today, but we do have Fed speakers from 11, 12 and 2 today. So really I don't want to be trading after 11 o'clock because yesterday was wasn't a very good day trading. It's a wild day. You can see, look at the top and bottom tails. So I want to avoid all that again today. So with that in mind, I'm aiming for an hour and a half, 2 hours morning trading only. And I'll go through some of my levels, which I've got some decent levels today. On my screen is the ES or the MES 1 hour time frame, which is the E-mini S&P 500 futures. And we can see we had this big push up in the pre-market, heading towards the current all-time highs of 4,997 and 75. So what I'm really watching for is a trend continuation today. So if the market opens and we see a bit of a sell-off, then I'm looking for a bounce around this area between 49.75 and 49.69. This is the area I'll be watching, and that's above all the moving averages, and it's above the 200, and it's also around about yesterday's high of the day as well. So that's kind of all the areas I'm watching, and that's probably my main trade I'm watching for. If we have a smaller pullback, and maybe I'll be watching the top of this pivot around this area here, which is the post-market high yesterday. So not a great place for the volume. You can see the volume's lackluster over here, but I'll be looking for an entry with confirmation at this point, or I'll be looking to layer in a couple of contracts and then with a tight stop below that pivot of 49.69.75. So that's my game plan for today. If we see a continued sell-off, then I'll be watching yesterday's low area for a bounce as well, 49.55. As for rejections, I'm watching 5,000 for a potential rejection area. It's a big psychological number, and looking at level 2, there's not many orders sitting up in that area at the moment. But one thing I'm watching is the SPX 5,000, which is a little bit further away, and if the SPX also gets up to 5,000, I've got my alert set ready. Then I want to be getting it, looking for a short with confirmation on the MES or the ES. I don't really trade SPX, but that's kind of what I'm looking for, a rejection up in that area. So one rejection, there's no other rejections really. May consider all-time high rejection, which is Friday's highs of 49.975, but I think 5,000 is the psychological number, so kind of keep an eye on that area. It's all depending on the SPX as well. SPX has got a bit further to go, so we may see it poke through before we see the rejection. And then just reiterate on the bounces, I'm watching this area here for a bounce, which is yesterday's low. Yesterday's high, 49.75, and I'll have this zone to watch for a bounce up to 49.69. Let's just flick into the daily, see where we are. So we've got a bit of a decrease in volume on the daily, so it's been decreasing as the price is going up. So bit of divergence there, so something to keep an eye on. Maybe seeing that we're starting to get tired. RSI is decreasing as well. I can probably draw a straight line. So if we put these two pivots together, that's a decreasing line, and if we link these ones up, the price is increasing, so that's more divergence. So we are looking at a bit tired, and a pullback is probably on the cards. When that's going to happen, we won't know, but we have to just play the chart. 4 hour. One thing to note as well on the 4 hour, the area I'm watching for a bounce, 49.55. We can see this 20 moving average is kind of bounced off of that. This has held it up on the 4 hour, bounced there, kind of poked through there, didn't hold it. bounce there, bounce there, bounce there. So potentially if we come back down, that's why I quite like 49, 69 area for potential bounce, because that will be probably where, in the same region of where we will find the 20 moving average as well. So potentially watch for a bounce when we get back down to there. Okay, so but I only trade the hourly. I have the 4 hour open on a different screen just to keep an eye on things. And what I'm not done is drawing the trend line in. Do we see anything? There we go. So we've got that trend line there as well, and we can keep an eye on the break of this structure. So that's where the bounce area I'm watching for would be. Let's just create a proper trading view trading line, so that'll go through on all my charts. Kind of that area, you know, it's not an exact. So that's the area, so that's a bounce area we're watching as well, 49.40. If we get down to there, this is the area which I'm watching for a higher probability bounce, but this is the pullback area I'm looking for along this trend line. Okay, I think that's ES. Let's have a look at SPY, very similar. Coming into all-time highs, I think I'm pretty much close to it. I might have just touched it in the pre-market. 500 is a decent rejection area, psychological number. We're probably a long way off from that, but that's an area to keep an eye on for rejection. Again, trend continuation. If it comes back down into this area, looking for a bounce. And this is a similar trend line we had on the ES. So we can use this trend line as a potential bounce area. If it breaks the trend line, there's a break of structure, and then we might be eyeing up shorts, but we've still got a couple of areas to watch for bounces. And that's it really. Very high risk rejection right now at the pre-market high. I wouldn't take it myself, but it's a double top of all-time highs, so it might be a level. Where are we in pre-market high? One more play I do like, but I don't like it because it's so extended right now. It's the break and retest of pre-market high. I really want it to come back. That's the only reason I've not mentioned a pre-market high play today. Looking at Qs next. Right, look at that. That's a pretty decent area there. So we got all-time highs coming back into it right now. So a break and retest of all-time highs. So this will be a break and retest of the pre-market high. But that will also be the all-time highs for continuation of the trend. Also, if we come back, so we can watch for a trend entry. Can we draw a trend line? That's quite far out. Let's just link these ones together. So we use that trend line. We can also put this trend line in as well. So we could be watching for a pullback into this region here. Not great, not as good as the ES trend line, but we can watch this 426 for a bounce through to 428. That's the area to watch for, and obviously the break and retest of the pre-market high or the current all-time high. That's it really, nothing really more. Just note the volume and the point of control is down here as well, so this can act as natural support as well. I didn't note the volume on here, yeah, way down. So just give it the last 3 days. Here we go, so we've got our point of control down in this area as well, which will act as natural support. This is going back to the ES again. So that's quite like a bounce off of this trend line. So there's more things lining up for the bounce down here than probably on the other charts. Nasdaq. This is the 5 minutes, go to the hourly. Not quite at all-time highs, we got that at 17,795 area. But a break and retest similar to Qs of the current pre-market highs. But it's quite extended, so I think a pullback would be the best play. And then if we were to put a trend line in, just link the last 2 pivots up. So that's our potential area we can look for long right off of this point of control as well. Happens to be the tops of areas as well. So a pretty strong area for a potential bounce in that area. Otherwise we can be watching for a bounce back down at yesterday's low, which is at 17,560. Oil, an alert for oil come up this morning, broke that trend line, but it didn't hold above it, so potential rejection area now. So we've got this area here, pre-market high. We could watch for a break off the trend line structure. Let's just draw that in. It just looks like a bit of a bear flag. So we've got the flagpole and the flag there. So one thing I do like to do is just clone the trend line. It usually coincides with some levels, not quite really on this one, but if you do that, so you see the trend line clones perfectly along there, off of there as well. We can use this as a guide. So if we break through, potentially we're looking long, or we break down, we can use that as a break and retest low. One thing I do note is if you divide this trend line into two, let's just clone it again. Put it on the recent pivot or the 50% mark. We are in the lower half of this trend line. This lower half, usually that means we're going to see a breakdown that way. Whereas if we're in the upper half of the trend line, we might see it do that. So I do keep an eye on that as well. So just get rid of that. Potentially watching for a break of this trend line and a retest. So kind of in that area there. We are in an hourly uptrend right now, so we couldn't put in a new high there. Putting a new high in the pre-market. So we really want to clear pre-market low, that area there. So if we break down through the pre-market low, come back up into this region, we can watch for a short. Or you can just play the bounce off this trend line and just play this up. So go with the hourly trend. Even though the daily trend is in a downtrend and we're just seeing a bit of a pullback, if we go into the daily, we can look at volume as well. See decline in volume, so you should see that quite clearly. There you go. So I wouldn't go long here at all. This is a classic pullback with a decline in volume as well. So increase in price, decline in volume. So that's, if volume price analysis works out, the break of that candle, that's the confirmation, pullback, long, short. And then we can watch for a double bottom for a long maybe. But keep an eye on that. We did have increase in price in this area here. Increase in price. And then 2 days ago, 3 days, 4 days ago, we had large volume and then we had some follow through, but then the pullback looks like the volume is declining, so there's no effort coming from the buyers really, not as much effort as it was when it sold off. So that's an area to watch for. Gold, notice decline in volume in the last few days. We had increase in volume, decline in volume. Look at that on the daily. Possibly putting in a head and shoulders pattern, not a great one. We've got this rather large left shoulder, head, right shoulder. The neckline is this area here. Not a great chart really. If we can break below the 200 moving average, which is at 20.27, we can look for a break and retest that area short. Possible target will be 1978, and then we've got a few targets on the way down. If we break over 2076, we can watch for a long, because we might be just seeing a high high, high low, high high, high low, and then just we can see this pattern forming here. this wedge pattern, and we either see it break out, continue, or break down and continue. So one to keep an eye on as well. This is the Russell 2000 futures. We can see that this is exactly what I was describing a few seconds ago. Break of structure, trend line, we pulled back, came in, retested that pivot, and then we kind of gone sideways for a few days, but we need to break out over the pre-market highs today to continue this trend up. If we break back down below there, we might be just coming back down again. So this is kind of what we're looking for when I describe the pattern we're watching for later. But this is a long, whereas the one I described was a short side of it. There's no real, in fact that was the play, but that was pre-market today. Hindsight as well is great. You've obviously got the bottoms, makes it a bit more significant. We've gone through this higher volume area as well, so potentially we can watch for the pullback, and then we can just watch it push back up. Target 1 can be yesterday's high, target 2 can be this area here, which is the 200 moving average, and we've got just before we get into this area of volume as well, so area of resistance. That's all I can see on there really. If it break down below that pivot, then that invalidates that setup anyway, and that could use that as a stop, a wide stop. This is the Dow Jones Industrial, currently at the top of a run of a range, kind of seeing a very misshapen head and shoulders pattern forming. Not sure where we are right now. Break down a pre-market low, target the 200 we could watch for the continuation of that head and shoulders pattern. Just want to bear in mind, may not be a head and shoulders. Obviously we've got support down here, hasn't come back into support yet. Or we could be just watching a bit of sideways movement before we decide to break off and go. So watch pre-market. It's still quite extended, so I wouldn't say I would watch for a pullback into yesterday's high area and for trend continuation, or if it continues to pull down, we can watch for the right hand shoulder being formed and a bounce. The neckline on here is kind of like that shape. Basically the 200 moving average is the neckline, so we can watch for the break and retest of that area short if we think we're going to see it change trend. Let's look at the daily. Increased volume, not as bad as increase. You can see significant in volume increase at when we came down into these lows. You can see increase in volume, shows a change reversal. Kind of getting a bit of increased volume here, but we've had decline in volume, which kind of means we're having a couple of days of rest and a bit of a pullback maybe. That's the area to watch if it does come back down for a bounce at 3,800 to continue the run. And it's quite a decent area as well. You've got highs, tops of candles, bottoms of candles, area, good area of confidence. Got volume in that area as well. And that's it, SPX quickly, we talked about this earlier. Watching for a 5,000 rejection. I'm not sure what that level was there for. A long time ago. If we get up, I got an alert just for 5,000, so I'll keep an eye on MES as well. I really want to try and get in for rejection. It will be a relatively big move up today to get to that area, and then I want to go short, but with confirmation as well. And then finally, let's look at Bitcoin. Doing exactly the same as it did yesterday. Sideways. Look at this, volumes declining. Putting in this pattern at the moment. You could argue it's a pullback, or you could say it's a bit of a flag forming or wedge pattern. So we can see which way it wants to go when it breaks either that pivot there or that pivot there. But at the moment Nothing to do, nothing to see. Big area of resistance there, and a bit of volume in that area as well, based on this point of control line. Potentially we've got a bit of a sell come down, turning around. Can't get above the 50 moving average. We can look for the break below there for the short. It's the only play I can see. Otherwise you've got rejection areas, or trend continuation, because we are still in a uptrend. We're putting high highs, high lows, high high, kind of high low, high high, kind of broken that area. That's what kind of makes me hesitate, but we maybe just be going sideways before we continue to move back up. So a few things. So let's just go back to MES, see if there's any movement before I go. Haven't quite broken all-time highs yet. I thought we might have done in the pre-market. Still looking strong, very extended, increasing volume as well in the pre-market. So just to recap levels for today, we're going to watch for 5,000 rejection. Also keep an eye on the 5,000 SPX level, which might be a bit further up here by the time we get there. With confirmation, really want to catch a pullback back down in this area, yesterday's high, or even back down into where this trend line is. And if we break the trend line, we want to break it, come back up into this area for a move down. That's kind of what I'm watching for. And then we've got potential target if we do break that trend line and get in short. Potential short is yesterday's low, and we've got the lows from Monday as well, this top of this demand zone, and it's an area to watch for bounce. That's it. If we're long, targets are, assuming we get in at this area here, first target can be yesterday's high, second target can be today's pre-market high, third target can be the breakout and the retest. Maybe look for an add up to where SPX hits 5,000, and then we can use that as an all out, or just hold a runner. And if SPX then gets up to the 5,000 area, then we can watch hit this for rejection and reverse our trade. That's kind of my plan for today. Okay, that's it. If you like the video, don't forget to hit the like button, and if you find it useful, hit the like as well. And I will be back later on with my trade recap. Okay, thank you for watching.